Hello and welcome everybody to the Dating Without Nipples podcast, where we go topless, talking about overcoming insecurity and the inner critic, the lie of unworthiness, and showing up for the most courageous, inspired life imaginable. I'm so excited today that we have Cindy Presar with us. Cindy is a certified professional coach who helps women eradicate struggle from their lives and learn their soul's purpose so they can step into their personal power to live it fully and confidently. Cindy has been a martial artist for 30 years with 2 black belts, and she enjoys teaching self-defense to women and to children. She is also a breast cancer survivor, yes, who thrives by coaching other women with cancer and running a cancer support group. She loves her life and feels fortunate to be here, living her life's purpose. Cindy, thank you so much for joining me today in this conversation.
My pleasure to be here. I'm so excited to be here with you, Alissa.
Yes, I always say it's not required to be a breast cancer survivor to be on this show, but it is a treat, of course, when we can come together and speak so specifically about such a deep emotional process. So breast cancer is part of your journey and a struggle that you overcome, but there's so much more. So will you tell us a little bit about your story, your background, your journey?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the reason I like to do soul purpose coaching, I'm calling it, was because, I never knew what a soul purpose was early in my life. And as a young girl, I really lacked self-confidence and self-esteem. And I really felt defeated. I felt very ugly. I was bullied. I was called mean names. I hated my body, and I just generally struggled during adolescence. And part of the thing was I fought with my brothers and then some of my boyfriends. And, my introduction to sex was basically being raped by my boyfriend at 16 years old. And then, as I grew older, then in the corporate world, sexual harassment was rampant, and we didn't have laws in place like we have now. It was really, really awful. It was degrading and very unfair, having men, and boys getting away with this, their disgusting behavior. But I remember having a deep desire to defend myself, and I really wanted to learn karate. And so then I felt like I could take matters into my own hands if I ever needed to. And I had my chance finally when I began training in the martial arts at the age of 29. So after an enormous amount of blood and sweat and tears and sometimes even some broken bones along the way, I eventually earned 2 black belt degrees. So at that point, I was teaching martial arts and teaching self-defense on the side, so I was just basically loving life. And during this time, I was working just crazy hours in corporate America when I was told, at one point I was told to do some unscrupulous things by my boss. And I didn't want to compromise my integrity. So that was when I left my high paying corporate job and eventually I just headed out on my own and became an entrepreneur. And so life seemed really good at first. I was working at the beach in Southern California. I was renting vacation homes out for vacationers and doing all the property management, cleaning all of the properties. Of course, I had a cleaning crew, but naturally I helped along, helped as well. But I was an entrepreneur, all right. I was working 24/7, 365, and I was not taking care of myself. I was just running these businesses, 3 businesses for 10 years with countless sleepless nights and mega stress. And then suddenly I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that's when I decided that that was it. That was my major wake-up call. And that was when I realized I needed to make some major changes in my life. So I quit all those businesses. And that's when I made me a priority. And by tapping into the core strength of who I knew I was deep down inside, I empowered myself and I learned how to take care of myself emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And I began teaching self-defense classes again. And I began a full-time coaching career so that I could help women who were in similar circumstances and situations that I had experienced in my life. And so eventually I healed myself, not only from my breast cancer, but from many of the wounds of my past. And, a lot of the stress and strain that came with my previous lifestyle. So this is basically what, brought me to where I'm at right now, and, running courses for women and teaching even kids. I teach kids self-defense to defend themselves against bullies, and just really enjoying life now. So
Really fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
pleasure.
Isn't it interesting that we can start off, something in the world maybe makes us feel small, or unfortunately in your case, you're subjected to a form of abuse, and the response appropriately is, I want to learn to defend myself. I want to feel strong. I never want to let that happen to me again. So I find it so fascinating and inspiring in your story that you first learn how to defend yourself physically.
Mm-hmm.
And then you learn what stress does when you take it too far. And then with the breast cancer, so you're getting all the components, as they say, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally.
Right.
Was each different phase of that? Did it feel like a different life lesson or a different evolution? Or do you feel like it was just more and more of a becoming of you? Do you see it as different eras of your life?
Actually, yes and yes. I felt like there were different eras, after so initially the whole abuse part of my life, that was all emotional, a lot of emotional, really, really, I felt it was really bad. And then when I got breast cancer, then I felt that was really physical. And so I knew that I had to work on myself physically, and I changed a lot about my life then. But so then when I went into coaching, that was really very spiritual to me, because my teacher just happens to be extremely spiritual. So that just launched me into a whole new sector of my life, which I really never got much of before. Even when I had learned to meditate when I was in my early 20s, when I was about 22. But and it was great. I was meditating for 2 hours a day at one point in my life. It
Wow.
was just crazy. 1 hour in the morning and come home from work, and another hour at night. So that was great. But I never felt like I was on this spiritual path,
Mm.
until I really got full on into my coaching career.
That's what I love about coaching. You can be soft and spiritual and still, and you can have a real kick in the pants. It is that I've been through various types of life experience. I have this wisdom I want to share with the world. I am finding my own connection to the divine within through meditation, maybe through exercise, whatever it may be. But until I think we get either in a group or in a community, or start to work with a coach. At first, I didn't think the word coach was really appropriate. I preferred mentor. But to
Yeah.
move forward, to move the needle, to take the power that we start to cultivate within ourselves and really put it out into the world to teach and to share. I love the
Mhm.
kick in the pants that is coaching. And you are
Yes.
especially unique to me because you have such a huge heart, and you are gentle and kind and compassionate. I mean that so wholeheartedly.
Thank you,
But
Alissa.
here you are, not only are you also a coach who's very good at invoking deeper meaning and perspective in people, and kind of the kick in the pants, the accountability, but you're also a double black belt in karate.
It's so funny when you call it a double black belt. I never thought of it that way, like a double black
It,
belt.
it sounds like double badass to me. I don't know. I actually was going to ask you, how does one get a double? Don't you just get one? I don't know. But maybe you can explain a little bit. But I want to hear more of the juxtaposition of the kindness and the compassion, and also the power. How do you embody that?
Wow, that's a really good question. So I guess a way to put that together would be the part of me that loves to, the badass part of me. And so first of all, to explain, I got my first black belt in karate, which is a Japanese form of martial arts. And then I segued into a weaponry type of a traditional Okinawan weaponry style of martial arts. And so that is my second black belt. And they're both first degree black belts. So by no means do I call myself an expert at all. When you get your first degree black belt, that's what my teacher taught us is now you are a beginner. Now you have the tools to begin seriously training in martial arts. So that's where I come from. But then I really have this deep desire to work with women. And so I don't want to come off as this badass, this woman is like, okay, now we're going to, go for it. And so I feel like I want to understand where they're coming from. And so that's where my compassion comes in, and any empathy that for what they're going through, if I've gone through that. And so I see that in them and work to understand where they're coming from, and then say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get into this class. And then, so there's that with the martial arts and the self-defense, and then the coaching works hand in hand with that, because I feel like this coaching that I've gone through, and by the way, my coaching teacher, mentor, guide is also a freaking badass martial artist who owned many kung fu schools along the way, and now he's into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. This guy is the epitome of one heck of an incredible expert martial artist. So I was immediately drawn to him in that respect too, knew that I wanted to work with him. So the two go hand in hand in my mind perfectly. So
They really do.
Yeah, it works really well with my clients. And I work
The way
with
you
women.
say that, it seems like a dance of the masculine and the feminine, the most positive sides of each of those, the flow of the feminine and the structure and the focus of the masculine.
Yes, I couldn't have said it more perfectly myself.
Yes. Well, I'm just seeing it and witnessing it. I so enjoy speaking with you. Now, on this podcast, we so often want to go into the struggle. I know struggle is something that you work with a lot, and it's a big part of your coaching, even a program you have coming up that we'll talk about a little bit later. But in your struggles, when we talk about insecurity specifically, were there moments, sometimes I'm surprised where my insecurity creeps in, and sometimes I'm surprised where I'm really kind of confident and easygoing. Where in each of these eras or journeys that you've been through, where did you have moments of personal doubt or insecurity? How did that show up?
Right. Well, so insecurities began way back when I was an adolescent. Always felt like I never had the confidence and the self-esteem and things like that. And always fighting, and insecurities kind of built up throughout my life that way. But then going into corporate America and having sexual harassment, that I was really insecure with that, because I already had such low self-esteem. And then ultimately, after I knew that I had to leave my corporate job, I was really insecure then, because I, at that point, really didn't have a plan B. I just knew that I needed to get out of there. And I thought I was going to go into personal training. I thought I was going to do this or that and the other. But I ended up deciding to become an entrepreneur, and more insecurities there, because I had worked for someone else ever since ever. And I'd done well for myself, but I'd never been an entrepreneur. So those were some major insecurities that came up in my life.
I think we underestimate how much personal development and overcoming personal doubt and insecurity, how much that plays into entrepreneurship. Sometimes maybe we think of entrepreneurship as Richard Branson, or, right? We get this really
Mm.
strong, confident, and man, does it bring up your stuff? It's really the who am I to be doing this? I hear so often on this podcast with the guests, I hear these words, well, who's going to want what I have?
Yeah.
And to believe in something, and especially something that we've experienced firsthand, is so transformative for us, which
Yeah.
is the premise for why we want to share it with others. We
Yeah.
know it's powerful. We know it's transformative. It's been such a deep personal experience, though, that we think, is this really going to help people? And it's so often the little practices. What are some practices or some secrets? What's kind of the magic sauce that you tend to focus on when you're talking to people about struggle?
So let's see. When I speak with people about struggle, well, my whole aim in life is to help women end their struggles emotionally. And to do that, I bring on my coaching experience. So in my case, when I alleviate my struggles, I do it with what we call solo processing. In the form of coaching that I do, we do processes.
Mm.
And it could be, if someone wants to just talk it out like a therapist, I can certainly do that as well. But my type of coaching is very based on very specifically oriented to, here's where you're feeling right now, where would you like to feel at the end of our session together, and to get from here to there, then I bring them through a very specific process that I realize will be perfectly oriented for my client based upon what they've told me about where they're at and where they want to be, where they'd rather be. So I do that for them. And for myself, I do the same exact thing for myself. I do solo processing, solo coaching, self-coaching, whatever you want to call it, for myself. So my secret sauce, I guess, as you call it, is my coaching.
Yes. It's very specific, very intentional. Again, it reminds me of the karate
Yes.
methodology a little bit, that structured container for holding and listening, and then like sort of honing the power, right, to use it and to direct it in meaningful, positive ways.
Well put.
Really powerful. I love how you say self-coaching. It's the
Uh-huh.
same. If for no other reason, to be a coach is to coach yourself. I also find it makes me a really good parent. Life coaching comes in so handy for parenting. Does it come in handy for you when you're working with children? If I know you're mostly teach them with the karate, but do you notice that it just all synchronizes?
Absolutely. I have no children of my own, but I have, actually right now I'm training some triplets, which they're just so cute, and they're all of course they're all 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so the coaching does come in handy, because to keep the attention of 3 10-year-olds all at the same time can be very challenging. So that's when I can call upon some of these other areas that I have a little bit of expertise in, here and there and everywhere, and call them back in, and we have a great time together. So I know that they like my style. They get a lot from my teaching, because I hear from the mom and from their aunt, oh my gosh, you should have seen what so and so said that you taught them, and all this stuff. So it does play in with the coaching and the self-defense. It just works hand in hand so well.
It does. It makes for a real, I know you to have a very holistic, wholehearted, whole person kind of a lifestyle. And that's what I find so beautiful. So tell us a little bit about your program. You have a program coming up.
Yes.
It's for women, and it is about emotional struggle, as you said. Are there some details that you want to share? And then please do tell us where we can find out more information when you're ready.
Sure. Yeah. So on Saturday, June 27th, let's see, that would be 2.5 weeks, I think it is. Yeah, about 2.5 weeks from now, or no, 2 weeks from now. Today's Saturday.
Yeah.
And so that program, I've really just brought it online now since, with COVID happening. It's a complimentary, free online session. It's only going to be 2 hours long, so it won't take up the whole day. And I'm calling it, for women, End Your Struggle Now. And basically, the idea of it is for women to, let's see, basically, I'm going to use my coaching skills for that, which I do all the time with my classes that I give. And I'm going to have women liberate themselves from all their negative influences emotionally. You skip past all of that and basically gain a more clearer understanding of themselves. And I want them to be able to learn their soul's purpose if they don't already know it. As a bonus, what I'm offering is for them to also learn how to give their deepest gift. And you might think you know your deepest gift, but a lot of times when I give this certain class about giving your deepest gift, women, they come out, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so surprised. It happens all the time when I do this in a private coaching session. They're like, really? I had no idea. It comes up all the time. It's just amazing. So that's what I'm really looking forward to doing in this class.
I can see and hear and feel your joy when you're describing it. And I've been to one of your workshops, and it was so much fun. I went because I know you have so much to offer, and I was so intrigued by your coaching style and the specificity, as you say, about the processes, the really unique processes that one goes through. I have to say, when I attended, I didn't really have anything right at the surface that I thought was really negative, but I still got so much out of it. And like you say, you don't really always know what's there, what gifts are hiding, and you don't have to. Sometimes we're in darker places and we can work through it. Sometimes we're in our joy, and there's even more joy available when we want to do that work. So I really appreciate you for what you do and what you offer. If someone wants to reach out to you for finding out how to sign on in 2 weeks to your End Struggle Now offering, or just to touch base with you, maybe to get to know you more personally and about some of your private coaching, where can they find you?
Right. So I'm, of course, on Facebook, Cindy Presar, and I do have a web page, but I'm still working on it right now. It's there, but it's not perfect. It does have some testimonials on it, and I'm planning to get that finished up in the next couple of weeks. So that is cindypresar.com. But basically, Facebook is where I put everything out there right now. So Facebook is the best at this moment.
It is, yeah. Just go the easy route. And I will put those social links in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
One thing I love to end on in these conversations is, as much as we talk about giving and we love to coach and share our gifts, it's also so important, as we know, to receive. So is there something, maybe a single word or idea, that you could think of that you would like to receive from myself and from the audience? We like to send good vibes right back to you as a thank you for sharing from your heart, sharing your story.
Wow. Something that I'd like to receive.
Sky's the limit.
I just love positive energy.
Yeah.
I'm all about positivity and optimism, but just to send positive energy every morning when I do my gratitude list, I send positivity out to all my family and my friends and of course my beloved. And so positive energy would be awesome.
You got it. You got it. Yes, we give what we often want to receive ourselves. So shining bright, beautiful, positive energy from myself and from everyone listening. So appreciate you. And oh, my pleasure. And until next time, everybody, be topless, be brave, be courageous, be your own silly self. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alissa. Love you dearly.
Love you too. You